Well, very exciting and potentially disastrous episode today. The time has finally come to take a whopping 3-inch section out of the middle of this cab and try welding it back together. Never done this before, so it's probably not going to turn out too good. So what I done here to figure out where to cut is I leveled out the cab, then I stuck a bar through the doors there, and then I hung a plumb line from it. And what I am looking for here is the highest point on the panel. So where the crown, because this is obviously curved like this, and I don't want to try sectioning it, you know, just willy-nilly wherever. It's going to be pretty much impossible to fit the pieces back together and keep the proper shape of the panel. So what I do is where the plumb line touches the highest point of the door, I make a mark, and then I move this contraption back, and then I make another mark and another mark all throughout the panel. Then, because I'm taking a 3-inch section out of here, I measure from the center or the highest point, and I go down 1.5 inches, and then I go up 1.5 inches, and that's going to give the best location for sectioning. Fortunately, these trucks are very simple. There's not a whole pile of shape in them, so the ideal sectioning point is basically a straight line right through the middle. Some cars, you'd be like that or like that, and then you also have to take into consideration where the door hinges are located and all the other various components of the vehicle. So there is, you know, a lot of thought going into that, but luckily we picked a fairly simple cab to section, and we've also picked a vehicle that's been sectioned multiple times by other people, so somebody else has already done the hard work, and so this wasn't entirely necessary, but I just thought it'd be cool to show. And it would also work better with a thinner piece of string or a heavier plumb bob, high bob, but I spent like an hour searching around for a piece of string, and you would think, well, the cat toys, there's no cat toys with a piece of string the right size. I don't have any shoelaces to use. This is literally the only piece of string in the entire area here. So we just rigged this up here just to show you, but this is not a new idea. This was actually the technique used by Neil Emery and Clay Jensen of Valley Custom when they sectioned the Jack Stewart 1950 Oldsmobile. You can see how the highest point on all these panels is all different places on this body. This is a fairly complex body to section, and so in the article, that's exactly how they figured out where to cut it, is by hanging a plumb line down the vehicle, then marking out the highest points, measuring away from those high points, and then sectioning from there. And you can see how they cut the sheet metal first, and then they went back later on and they cut the structure last and then lowered the whole thing down. So it's really cool to see how the pioneers did that, because back then there's no internet, there were no instruction manuals, and no one had ever done this kind of work before. So they had to figure everything out. People were a lot smarter back then. They didn't need Google or YouTube to tell them how to do things. But this is one of the, well, in my opinion, one of the best custom cars ever built, and one of my favorite custom cars that's ever been built. This 1950 Oldsmobile. It's and I was this is, I think, the first Rodder's Journal I ever bought, and at the time, I think this was 2007 it came out, so I would have been 16 years old, and never done any welding or bodywork before, but I picked this up, and it broke my brain when I saw this car and read the article on how it had been done, and
So I just think it's fantastic. Even, it's funny how my taste or idea of what's cool, hasn't changed in all these years since I was 16. So let's quit yakking here and start doing stuff. All right, well, there's a time for careful planning and meticulous measurements, and then there's a time for just mindlessly hacking stuff apart with the zip wheel. And I'm pleased to report that the time for mindlessly hacking stuff apart has arrived. It's time to stop with the brain thinking and start letting the grinder do the thinking for us. Starting to realize that this may not have been one of my better ideas. Everything about this though just screams professional operation. You know, cutting them apart sure don't take very long, but I think where we're gonna run into trouble here is actually trying to put all this back together. It's too late to find another cab and start over. just a little side-by-side comparison here. I am liking it a lot. I'm having a good time, you know. This is a lot of fun. Little tip for removing a door skin if you're not planning on reusing it. Use a body grinder and just grind along the edge of the door until you see the seam start to separate, and then you can just peel the skin right off. And there's usually a few hidden spot welds that you gotta find, but that's about the fastest, easiest way to get a door skin off. So yeah, just here's the unground edge, and there's the ground edge. And you'll actually, as soon as you see the metal start to separate, then you stop. And if you do it fairly consistently, then you end up with a nice clean cut along the edge without cutting into the inner panel, which you probably want to keep. And that's how that works. If you saw on the other door, I actually peeled this back because I thought I could just refold it back over when I recontoured the bottom of the skin there. Problem is that this actually tapers in towards the bottom on both the front and the back of the door. So the original edge was kind of useless to us anyways, plus 70 years of metal fatigue, and it just cracked as soon as we went to fold it back along the edge. And we could have avoided that by heating up the edge, but I figure if I have to put heat into it anyways, and I'm still going to have to end up remaking the edge to change the shape of the edge, because obviously, like I said, it tapers in, well, then I might as well just make a new 1/2-inch strip of metal on the inside to replicate this, and then just re-weld it all along the edge, then file the edge to fit the door gap, and then it's done. So actually though, all of that is even still a waste of time, because this truck is getting fadeaway fenders both through here. That means that from here down, the entire bottom skin is getting remade anyways, as well as the inner structure at the bottom will be getting modified. So I'm really only just sectioning these this way just to show a way that it can be done, and for the visual, because otherwise a door with half the skin cut off doesn't make for a very good visual in the meantime. But I gotta say, this technique of folding the skin back over the inner structure after you section the inner structure, that worked awesome. So this is definitely the way to do it if you're going to be sectioning doors. I didn't invent this. This has been done for years and years, and by a lot of people. But I just wanted to try it, and it turned out like way better than I thought. Like it kept the shape, contours of the door. There's no waviness or stupidity there. You know, the old school way, I guess, is to go right through the middle of the door and then re-weld the seam, and then either fill the door with a ton of Bondo and lead, or painstakingly hammer weld it back into shape. And this worked awesome. You can see we just kind of ugly tacked it back on just to get our visual. If we were trying to do it nice, then we'd remake this edge here, weld it all nice along that edge, file it to fit, and be done. But because this will eventually be getting cut off anyways, I didn't spend a whole lot of time on it. Like I said, I just wanted to get the visual, and I'm quite pleased with that. So I don't know. Sorry for the intermission here. We'll get back to work. I know people always complain about how much of a pain new cars are to work on, but I just want to say, I don't know whose idea it was to run a bolt for the vent window up into the abyss here, where you can't even get at it, and of course it always rusts in. Man, that is, it's not cool. Any of you who have ever worked on these advanced design trucks before probably know what I'm talking about. Pretty much had to cut the entire bottom of the door off just to get at it. Took me longer to fiddle around with this stupid bolt than it did to section the other door. Terrible. Terrible.
Before anybody freaks out and starts jacking their keyboard in the comment section and telling me all about how I'm trapping the rust inside this door because, I didn't clean it up or whatever, just keep in mind that this outer skin is getting cut off again, or at least the bottom of it is, to build fadeaway fenders. So this is all getting remade. This piece here is going to be getting remade. I already mentioned that, but just a refresher here. I shouldn't have to repeat myself, but I do. Something about the access to unlimited information at our fingertips has kind of set us back a bit, I think. And some folks are quick to react without, seeing the full picture, which I guess is fine, but I think, what I don't understand is like the amount of effort it takes to actually type out some long-winded essay trying to deconstruct everything I've done. That seems like a lot more effort than just, rewinding the video and rewatching something that you didn't understand, or maybe watching the next 5 minutes of video to see how things turn out, before freaking out and calling me an idiot. But then, you didn't watch the whole video to see what happened. But you're calling, I am an idiot, I agree. But, if you're going to call someone an idiot, you better make sure you have all the facts before you, jump on that. I think about 95% of the world's conflicts could be avoided if people would actually just maybe take a second to listen to what the other guy's got to say. You might even learn something. You don't have to agree with them. But just actually taking the time to listen to them before, the whole reactionary thing where you just hear one word or one thing or see one thing and it just instantly sends people into just an absolute fury for no reason. All that being said, please keep the comments coming. I do enjoy reading them, and some of them are really funny, and some of them are actually have some great ideas. You folks have some really good ideas, really good ideas. So, stuff I wouldn't have thought of on my own. Probably about a year ago, a fellow mentioned that I can use the front spring mounts on the rear springs and drill 2 holes in the rear of the frame, and that'll give me a 2-inch drop, which is absolutely brilliant. I think the guy's name is Charlie. I don't want to say anybody's last name because some people don't like that, but he commented that about a year ago, and I'm definitely going to give that a try. I have an extra set of front spring brackets, so I'm looking forward to giving that a shot. I wouldn't have thought of that on my own, so thanks. And I think it was Brian who mentioned using the front suspension out of early 50s Chevy car, which is what we're using the rear quarter panels from. And I think that would be a pretty cool period correct modification. I'm not sure if we're going to do that yet, or just run a drop axle and drop springs in the front,
or swap in the whole cross member from an early 50s Chevy car, which again, I think that's a pretty cool period correct modification and not something anybody nowadays would do. But because we are trying to keep this period correct, it would be something that I think would be done back in the day. And that's the kind of stuff I like, is just the oddball stuff people used to do that nowadays you just pick up a Speedway catalog and bolt in a Pinto suspension or whatever. But back then everybody had to figure stuff out and make things work. So that's definitely something we're going to look into. So thanks, Brian, for that idea. And I believe you also sent a very generous donation a while back for some welding wire. So we're going to put that to good use. And yeah, like I said, keep the comments coming, even if they're ridiculous and calling me out and calling me an idiot. Still entertaining, if nothing else. Anyways, let's get back to the fun stuff. Well, I gotta see if I ever have to section another door. I would definitely do it this way again. Well, I mean, I'd spend a little more time, doing the edges instead of just crudely tack welding it together. But rolling the skin under, that worked out awesome. We got just the right amount of crown through the panel. It kept it totally straight all the way through. I really can't be too upset with that. There's no way I'd be welding a seam all the way through here and having it turn out this nice without spending probably days on it. So, and this was like a couple hours to get it to this stage. So I'm really glad that worked out. I didn't invent doing it this way. It's been done a lot. This is how they did it when they restored the Dream Truck, and a lot of other folks have done it this way. I just had to try it for myself, and yeah, cool. Kind of a waste of time because we are cutting it all off for the fadeaway fenders, but for now it looks like something at least, and we learned something. So to me, that's time well spent. While we're in the neighborhood here, I'm just going to finish up this seam here. So you'll probably see that we just left it as an overlap. So what I'm going to do now is just everybody's favorite party trick. We're going to take our grinder and slice through the bottom layer and turn it into a butt weld. And not that it matters. The eventual, I guess, plan for this door would be a full height interior panel. Originally they only came up to here, but I think for custom it should have a full height door panel. So this really doesn't matter how this looks, but just for my own peace of mind, we'll butt weld this. And the reason I did an offset cut here is because if I would have taken this and joined it into here, it would have ended up, these panels, these pleats or whatever you want to call them, they all have kind of some shape to them this way. And so if I would have joined this kind of part way through the middle of that, it would have, it wouldn't have lined up exactly right. And I would have basically had to hammer and dolly and reshape the whole thing just to get it right again. Or I guess just because it is getting an interior panel over it, just beat it in or whatever. But whatever I do, it can't be, bulged out or whatever. The closer this shape is to how it's supposed to be, the easier it is to get the interior panel to fit. So that's why I did the offset cut, is just because it's going to be a little cleaner down here. for finishing out, and it's not going to have, you know, weird shapes that don't fit together trying to fit together. Much as if we had just you know, sectioned the outer skin right through the middle and welded that back together, it would have given us all kinds of fits trying to get that fitted back up and finished out nice. So again, this will be an easy seam to finish out. All right, we got this all butt welded and just tacked together for now. I'll probably go back with a TIG welder and TIG weld all this. It'll be faster, and deal with that later. A couple heavier tacks here. I just drilled a couple holes just to hold the inner brace, which also serves as a stop for the window. So that's all back at the factory location there. The way we sectioned it, we didn't interfere with the original glass run channel. All that stock, so nothing with the glass is going to have to change, even though we took a whopping 3 inches out of this. Can't say the same for when I chop the top. That's going to obviously affect the glass quite a bit. And before anybody gets upset about these being pristine doors, somebody's already cut them up before. They cut out the brace for the handles, and they cut out the thingy for the latch here. So, you know, these weren't usable on a restoration anymore. Plus, we still got to fix all this at the bottom. So,
Gosh, I sure hope these doors still fit.
couldn't resist a quick paper mock-up here. I'm liking it. So you can see what we mean by the fadeaway fenders. So the bed's going to be getting molded to the cab. We're using early 50s Chevy rear quarter panels or the rear fenders, and then this will all get blended together. So that's why we're not too concerned about, finishing out all this bottom here or what have you. And that's what I meant about the doors getting stuff done. So this is kind of the first three-dimensional picture other than the plastic model that we built. So it's just obviously quite roughed in. We'll have to get the quarter panels in place to kind of figure out what's going to be the best angle of the fadeaways and where to best join them into the fenders. But the sectioning went surprisingly well. I thought that was going to be a lot harder than it was. That being said, still got a lot of work to do with the firewall. That's going to be our next big project. And we also got to tie in the back wall of the cab. So we got to figure out how we're going to do that. That'll be a job in itself. Doors all went back on. They actually went on easier than they did the first time around. They still fit on the inside, all around the inside gap is still good. So no issues there. Obviously the outside needs a lot of work. Body lines still seem to line up, so that's good. I'm gonna fiddle around with it a little more and do some more tweaking here and there. I want to get them fitting better before I chop the top, but that's a long ways off yet. As for the top, I'm thinking about 3 inches out, but we'll have to just cut it and see. I'd like to kind of bring this back window down so it's kind of at the same plane as the rest of the truck or the glass. And I'm thinking maybe take like an extra 1/4 or 1/2 inch out of the back of the roof, just because on these trucks they angle forwards, and because we're kind of doing the old lead sled or tail dragger or speedboat kind of look, we don't want the roof to have an angle like this. I'd rather have it at least level, or maybe, but you can't go too drastic because the length of the doors is pretty short on these trucks, so you don't want to have it looking like it got stepped on in the back either. So that will be a future problem. We also mocked up our Buick bezels there. I wasn't too sure about them at first, but I'm thinking it might actually be kind of cool. The other option is just conventional Frenched headlights, where we just weld the headlight ring directly to there, blend it all in. So either or, not too sure about a grill yet. I'd like to kind of do a rounded, kind of molded in insert here, kind of like a 49 to 51 Mercury, and then some kind of floating grill bar in the center. And then for a bumper, we'll run like I guess a passenger car type bumper that kind of wraps around into here. Not too sure what I'm doing for that yet. Yeah, I think the Buick headlight bezels could definitely work. It's going to be a lot of work to get them to flow into here, but the other thing is we'll also probably radius these wheel wells a couple inches, not a whole lot, but just enough. Obviously it's got to get lowered a substantial amount. We're not going for like right on the ground, but it's definitely got to be lower. And then the bottom of the fenders will be trimming off a couple inches there, and then the fadeaways will kind of wrap around there. So yeah, this is cool to see though. A lot of work to go. Of course, this is all just a long ways off in the future. Right now, the goal is just to get the firewall back in, get the front of the floor all rebuilt, the inner cowl all rebuilt, all the structure basically put back in the cab. Once we do that, then we can work on chopping the top. And so that'll be, the top chop is definitely going to be more work than the sectioning was. And from there, we'll work our way forwards and start getting these fenders figured out, getting the hood section down. That'll be a big job. I just couldn't help myself and had to just kind of clamp the front end on here just to see how it would look. I guess the other thing is we still have to section the cowl as well. You can see this is all just buried in here, so I'll just cut it right here probably and bring it up. The fenders are, I think, raised up 4¼ inches, and then just that leaves it at the stock height at the front. But we sectioned it 3 inches, and the cab is channeled down over the frame 1¼ inch. So that means that the bottom edge of this has to come up 4¼ inches to kind of make everything fit again. Then we'll shave the cowl vent here. Don't really need that anymore. And again, all future problems, but yeah, I don't know. I just had to take a step back and look at our abomination here that we've been creating. It's cool to see something, even though, you know, this is only the beginning. But so if I actually was sectioning this cab and not doing the fadeaway fenders, what I do is, you can see I just let this kind of chunk hang down. I just cut it at an angle, dropped it in. But what I do is I just buy a new cab corner and just splice it on up here, and that would take care of the back of that. So that would be pretty simple. But like I said, we don't have to worry about that because we're doing the fadeaway fenders and the bed is getting molded to the cab. So, but just I guess for argument's sake, how I do it if I wasn't doing the fadeaways. But there's already lots of guys who have sectioned these trucks and chopped them and done all kinds of things, but I've never seen one with the fadeaway fenders. So there could be a reason for that, but we're going to do it, and I think it's going to be fun. And I'm definitely think our idea here has some promise. It's going to be pretty low too. Already smashed my head on the top of the cab, getting in and out of it about 13 times so far. And pleased to report there's been no noticeable brain damage. So once we chop the top, then we're really going to be smashing our head on there. So definitely looking forward to that. Just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has been following along with this project so far, and a special thanks to all the patrons of the show and all the folks sending in donations via PayPal or through the super thanks button on YouTube. Without all you folks and your support and watching these videos, it would not be possible for me to set time aside to work on this project. So huge thank you to all of you. So far, the algorithm on YouTube hasn't picked up on any of these videos yet, but we're going to keep working on this thing full time until the first week of January. Then we'll step back and evaluate how the videos are doing. I've got a little side project, just a small job I got to do in January. And then if things are looking good, we'll just continue on with this for the rest of the winter or until I'm sick of working on it. You know, it's kind of up to YouTube, I guess, but I just really want to say how much I appreciate all you folks taking the time to watch these videos, because like I said, without you, this wouldn't be happening, and I'm really enjoying this. This is what my weird alien brain is wired to do, is this kind of custom work. You know, rust repair and dent repair is fine, but it's pretty boring for me, whereas this is a lot I actually have to, you know, think a little bit. So anyways, take care everyone, and we'll see you again next week.